got a chance to see the first Omen. So let's check out my thoughts right now. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I appreciate you spending time with me as we rant about movies, comic books, and video games, and the occasional board game as well. Did I say video games? No. All right, so let's jump into the first Omen. Got a chance to see that tonight, me and one other person that I did not know. It was only two of us in the entire theater, so that doesn't bode real well. But before we do, remember to give me a like and a subscribe. Any kind of interaction we have here is, whether it's comments, etc., it does help the algorithm pick me out. And, so even if you want to call me names, it really kind of helps me. Which is really helping for the review I did on Free Body Problem. Wow! I've gotten some major backlash on that, and I am loving every minute of it. I didn't like it. Apparently, there are a lot of people that just love that thing, and good luck to them. I appreciate them telling me all how stupid I am. It's awesome. All right, so but also, if you're looking to get into film and television or something to that effect, if you're looking to write or if you're looking to produce in the future or both, or if you're looking to act and maybe produce something that you're in, whether it's a short or a web series or even a full-length, low-budget production feature, I am going to be doing because I am a working line producer. I'm an award-winning screenwriter as well. My name is Frank Zenko. You can look me up. And on IMDb, etc. You just Google me, you can see all my stuff. But I am going to do a class before I leave back for LA. I am doing a movie in May, and I think we're doing a series in June. And but anyway, so before I leave, I'm going to be doing a class on. It's going to be a 2-day class, just a couple of 3 hours a day. It's it's going to be light, and you're going to be able to ask me questions, and I'm going to go through. Everything from writing to a budget, to budgeting, to scheduling, to crewing. And then on the second day, my buddy is going to come in and talk about financing. So it's going to be lots of fun. And we have an early bird special right now. So if you jump in now, the link is in the description below. And it's just early bird right now if you want to jump in and get $30 off for the entire class. All right, so anyway, check that out, and let's jump into the first Omen. I haven't seen the Omen movies in a long time, but I know, of course, it's based on a child named Damien, and then the other Omens, basically had the progression of him growing up and being the Antichrist. That's the basis for this entire film series. So these producers, director, etc., decided to take it in a different direction and go into a prequel where we could see, the mom, how the mom ended up birthing Damien, which is interesting. So this is directed by, I can't even say the person's name, Arkasha Stevenson. I got that right, actually. I didn't really recognize anything that he did. So the writers are himself, and I assume I don't know if it's a man or a woman now. They. And Tim Smith, who most probably is a man. And I think it was created by Keith Thomas from back in the day. But anyway, they've done some shorts together. Again, they've only done a few shorts and a couple of, I think they did one series that they did. But again, nothing I've recognized. But it may not have been anything in the United States either. They definitely don't know how to save money. That's for sure. So the budget on this is far, far too high for what it is. You have literally no name stars at all. Charles Dance from Game of Thrones makes an appearance, and I think that was because the main actress, whose name is Nell Tiger Free. Wow, it's a very odd name, but I like it. It's kind of cool. But anyway, she's from Game of Thrones. She only had a small part, but she may have kept in touch with Charles Dance and had him come on and play this role. You know, everybody else, there's, again, Sonia Braga. Who recognizes her anymore? She's older now, of course, but she was a big name back in the day. And Ralph Ineson, who is not a big name, but is in everything. The guy has 150 different credits. So it's not, again, there's nothing wrong with the acting here. It's just purely that none of the names are recognizable, which you really don't need for horror. But at the same time, you can't have horror going to $30 million. So you need, and we're going to talk about Sydney Sweeney here in a second. So for $30 million, you need to double that, which is 60, and then they let's say they only spent $8 million in marketing, which is tiny. Let's say it's only $8 million. So now you have $38 million. Let's just make it 40. So you need to make $80 million to break even. That's not happening here. I just looked it up, and they are at $8 million. I mean, I know that they haven't released internationally yet, based on what I saw was only domestic, but this thing is going to have to really make some dough. I just don't see it happening. They would have to, just jump up internationally. This thing would have needed $20 million this weekend to break even, and they're not anywhere close, not even half. So, and this has almost exactly the same kind of beats, plot beats, that Immaculate had with Sydney Sweeney. Now, that's why I wanted to bring her up. She knows what she's doing. I think, I don't know if it's her that's making these decisions, but it's definitely her that's ratifying these decisions. She did Immaculate for $8 million. And she is going to either break even or make money by the time this is done, where this is not. And so, yeah, if they had kept it at $8 or $10 million, then we would be fine. But you just can't make $80 million with this. It's just not going to happen. And it's because it's not a jump scare thing. It's not a slasher. It's not any of those things that's going to bring in the younger audience. And younger audience is where the money is for horror. If you lose the younger audience, you don't have anything. And that's one thing that Sydney Sweeney does, is she brings in that younger audience. She has a fan base of her own. Again, you don't have anybody bringing in this, and it's more of a psychological horror in this one. Plus, you're bringing in the religious side, which a lot of people stay away from, which I think was to the detriment of Immaculate. I think Immaculate would have made more money if she had done some kind of a slasher or something like that, something more gimmicky than doing something that's based on the church, because the church has taken a lot of hits here. I mean, literally 2 months in a row. So one Sydney Sweeney's thing had to do with them trying to birth Christ, being the son of Jesus, because they had his DNA on the nail and were trying to clone it. They tried, so they were putting that stuff into her to be able to birth genetically another Christ. So there's that. And then this one here, she's trying to birth the Antichrist. But both of them are being spearheaded by the church. So, again, it's the same exact story, just in two different polar opposites of one another. This one has some scenes that will stay with you. Again, this is more of a psychological. And again, that's why this film is not going to do well. It's based on a IP that nobody's heard of since the early 80s. And then on top of that, you're talking about a there's nothing here. We're talking about nuns and, stuff like that. Plus, I saw him throw away a lot of money. Okay, he threw away a lot of money. If I was the producer on this, I would not have let him do some of the shots he did. So it took place in the 70s. So you already have a period piece where you have to have period cars, you have to have period costumes for the extras, etc. So right off the bat, there's all these, it's kind of mirroring today with the whole Israel Palestine thing, because a lot of the students were protesting against the church in Italy, which is also funny because this takes place in Italy and Immaculate takes place in Italy. So you have an American going to Italy on both sides to become a nun. I mean, they're almost exactly the same film. It's crazy as far as the actual plot. So and so it was almost like what was the movie with the meteor where they had the meteor coming to Earth? Armageddon and Deep Impact. There you go. Those two movies were like came out at the same time, almost exactly the same film as far as plot. So we have this. So we have that going on here, but he has all these sweeping shots where we had to change the cars out. They had to change out probably over 100 extras. And I'm like, all right, well, if you did that for one day, that would be okay. You know, we just put that into the budget as one of the most expensive things because the rest of them, or everybody's in a habit, or everybody, you know, those costumes are cheap, and we don't have to worry about hairstyles and all that stuff because everything's covered, and so that makes it cheap. And if there's everything's taking place in, you know, this monastery or whatever it is, you know, nunnery, then again you're keeping your costs low because everything's happening in one location, even though we're kind of going into the basement. But we did the same thing with Immaculate. But then he takes her to a club. So now we have to have a club and all the costumes and everything else. Then he takes them back to this huge amount of extras. And they turn a car over and they had cars everywhere. Waste. There was so many other ways they could have shot that where they did not need but a couple of extras, maybe 10 extras, no cars. It was just a waste. The whole thing in the club was interesting, but it slowed the film down. It wasn't needed. There was, you know, ways that we could have had a double date without having a club with a whole bunch of extras. You know, I don't know. It was just, I found us, it was a lot of wasted money. So, and we can see it, you know, between Sydney Sweeney spending $8 million for hers, that taking place in a monastery and everything else. It was contemporary, but it wasn't 1970s. But still, she left it all pretty much in one location. And then there was the airport scene, and again, more cars, more extras. You didn't need it. You didn't need that whole scene. And she just had to get picked up and taken to the monastery. But anyway, with Immaculate, again, $8 million for exactly the same thing to $30 million. So somebody's throwing away a lot of money. I mean, we got a body burn on the other one, but, you know, one body burn, one stunt, fine. You know, that's not going to add, you know, $10 million to your budget. So anyway, I think this is going to get the performances are amazing. You got some really good performances out of this. I like the red herring thing. I like where this went. It did slow down quite a bit in the middle. Again, they could have sped it up. And then, you know, Charles Dance, why he was in this movie. Why he took that role, I will never know. But Ralph Ineson, I just saw him in, he was also in Green Knight, which is funny because we have Dev Patel with the movie out, and he's out at the same time. They were both, he played the Green Knight in the Green Knight. And I just saw him in that low budget movie, not High Heat, but To Catch a Killer. He was in that. He plays little roles. He's playing 150 things, man. It's amazing. He's never played a priest though. And then Maria Caballero, boy, she is striking. She is a striking woman. Wow. Yeah, again, we have a lot of really good stuff, and it was a good performances, and I found the movie interesting, and there was some haunting scenes, and we had like maybe one jump scare, and that's it. But again, it could have been a lot shorter. We could have deleted a bunch of scenes, and to have the same thing, and all it really ended up being was a setup to, because they even show Gregory Peck in one. And here's Damien's parents. So unless they're going to CG Gregory Peck, the man's dead. I don't even know why they did that. Because if they're going to continue it, again, if this loses money, they won't continue it. But they set it up to be continued. But why they put Gregory Peck in there, I have no idea. We can't see Gregory Peck. But even at the end, they said, "Oh, they named him Damien." So there was a little car thing with hitting a guy, and that was that's one of the ones that'll stick with you. That's for sure. So, but anyway, I thought it was directed pretty decently, considering that the director didn't really have anything of this type, and he wrote it. But I think again we were missing that collaboration, even though he had a partner. It's a partner that he had worked with before. The producer didn't step in and say no. That's the problem. That if the producer had stepped in and said no, you probably wouldn't have had this problem. So if I'm going to rate this, it is an above average film. The movie is not bad. It just, you have to know what you're going in there to get, and you always, at some point, you forget it's a horror movie because it's about this woman about to take her vows, and then things kind of go crazy. But at the same time, she's going to have fun. She's learning things for the first time. She's never really been with a man before, so we get to see some of this romantic stuff go on, and then everything goes downhill. But you kind of get a different end to the story that's not horror based, so it does kind of go off the rails and then come back on. But at some point you forget you're watching a horror movie. And but yeah, you have characters that you are caring about, which is very, very important for any kind of film, not only horror but any genre. So they definitely got that. I think the guy that was in back fell asleep. Because when I got up to leave, he was still sitting there like this. So I think he fell asleep. Thankfully, he didn't snore. And he was behind me, so I didn't know if he had his phone on or not. Thank God. That's why one of the things I like to sit up front, because I get people in the background with phones. I don't even get to see it. But if I was going to rate it from a scale to 1 to 10, it's a 7. And maybe a 6.5, 6.8. But it's good, not great. And it's not a movie I'll ever go watch again. So, that's why maybe it's below 7. Because there are some 7 movies that I see again. But they did a good job with it. It just didn't come off well enough to make its money back. We'll see what happens, but we'll see what happens internationally if that changes. All right, well, that's it from me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know, did you see it? Did you like it? How does it compare to Immaculate? Which one did you like better? Each one of them, to me, had different things, which is funny when you're comparing an $8 million film to a $30 million film, and you're like, which one's better? It's very interesting. Just goes to show you that it's not about the budget, it's about what you do with it. And but anyway, thank you again so much for watching. Remember that if you have any interest in being a writer or a filmmaker, check out the description below for the link to Eventbrite, where you can check out my class that I'm having on the 20th and the 21st of this month. You can get in on the early bird special yet, but I only have 20 spots available, so don't delay. Also, if you're a fan of card games or whatever else, or just classic monsters or classic monster art, Mark Spears, who does comic covers for Marvel, DC, Image, etc., he did a whole thing of classic monster art, and we are doing a card game called Mythlords. In fact, here is the box for are we doing a Dark Wizard of Oz expansion? This is just the expansion box, it's not the main box. And so you're going to be able to play as some of the classic monsters like Dracula, etc. Dracula, Frankenstein, Creature from Black Lagoon, Wolfman, etc. But anyway, you can check out that once I launch, probably in May. I'll be telling you guys when it launches, but that will be launching. Also, check out some other videos as well when you're heading out. Give me the like and a subscribe, or call me all kinds of names like the other people on Free Body Problem are doing. I think it's great. Call me whatever you like. All right. Anyway, talk to you soon, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a great week.